NifnexTV is about helping small businesses grow. Case studies are generally case studies which businesses have challenges, and we sort of address those challenges via panel, who are part of the Writers Club. So it's the Nifnex Writers Club who's going to be on the panel discussing all the challenges. And today we've got an exciting case study, which is about small businesses who can actually do a few things to operate more like a corporate. Okay, so SMEs are not always organized from many aspects, including planning and organizing themselves from various aspects, again, bookkeeping. So we've got Andrew Christopher, we've got Shannon Bush, and we've got Sonja Pilkington. They're going to introduce themselves briefly, and then we sort of get into the case study itself. So, Andrew, Shannon, Sonja, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks.
If you could.
Morning. Yeah, kick off with me. Yeah. Morning, everyone. My name's Andrew Christopher. I lead a business excellence consulting operation. My background is governance and finance, but I've worked in the larger businesses for 30-odd years. 3 years ago, I set up my business excellence consulting operation. And in the third year, I said, I parked an observation that there was good information that could be shared with small businesses. And this year, I launched a small business advisory stream and working with Zishan to try and deploy that information and message. Yeah? So today, my angle on this question will be, what is the smart way for small, medium enterprises to understand, plan, organize, and manage their business affairs in what is an increasingly complex business environment, and the imperative to pursue sustainable profits and growth. So that'll be my angle, but do you want me to launch into that?
Yes, please.
All right, okay, good. So in many ways, running a business is like running any complex venture. So using an analogy, a local analogy, an AFL club, for example, there's on-field matters to organize and plan. There's off-field matters to organize and plan. So with a business, you have similar imperatives. You have operational matters, which are typically called in the business affairs, and you have on the business matters, like planning your business and so on. And this requires a system, okay? So an AFL club or any complex venture uses a system. The fact is, there is a system for businesses, and the larger businesses and better practice businesses that are interested in learning and seeking knowledge understand this system. It's called business excellence. It exists in 85 countries, and it guides businesses on the fundamentals of organizing and managing a business. And these fundamentals are a set of key principles and guidance on the categories that you need to sort of understand and manage. So across these 85 countries, there is some uniform convention that a good business focuses on 7 to 10 categories, and these typically consist of leadership, strategy and planning, information and knowledge, people, customers, business and operational processes, and business and financial results. So you don't have to make it up or scratch around. There is a system out there, and small business, small, medium enterprises are well advised. So my 5 top tips in priority sort of order. One is seek to understand what this system is about. It's out there. You can Google, you can research it, or you can seek advice from expertise around, okay? Second is, once you understand how this system can help your business, educate and secure your leadership commitment, because undertaking or applying the system requires that leadership commitment. Yeah? And too often you see in businesses, one person having a commitment and the rest really sort of paying lip service to it. So it's very important that you lock in your leadership commitment. Third is set the baseline. So use the system or the framework to understand where your business is today, what its strengths are, and what its performance gaps and opportunities are. Yeah? And once you understand this, use that to develop a plan and integrate that with your normal business strategy. So too often, again, businesses treat improving the business as something separate to normal business. It needs to be totally integrated into your corporate strategy and driven by the people with accountability assigned to them. Yeah? And finally, so the more than 5 tips, but the 5th tip for the moment is really engage your people, enable them, give them the knowledge and the help and the skills to understand and apply the system, unleash their potential, and support them along the journey. Okay? And if you do that, you're well on the path, you've set the ball rolling, or you've got the bear dancing, you're well on your path to supporting your business growth in a structured and systematic way.
Fabulous. I haven't heard about the bear dancing before, so it's a good start. And the second point that you mentioned is on leadership, which brings us straight to Shannon there. Shannon's a leader and who pretty much sort of puts everything together for businesses and sort of helps them from the leadership aspect. So Shannon, welcome. If you could introduce yourself a little bit and go and sort of address this from your point of view.
Certainly. So my name is Shannon Bush. My business is called Creative Possibility, and as Zisha mentioned, I am joining the panel today from a leadership perspective. With the core of my business is really small business coaching. So I like to make that really clear that it is about small business. It's not general executive or corporate coaching. I very much work with small business owners and very often sole traders. So it was interesting to look at this case study from that perspective, but also to take into consideration this sort of small to medium-sized enterprise market, having come from a corporate background. My initial thought was actually that a lot of the time I see small business doing things better when it comes to planning than some of my corporate experience.
Make it
but
controversial.
I don't want to make it too controversial. But I thought, well, but then I wanted to look at why they seem to be doing things better, and I realised that it is because they do have something that is in common with corporates that do things well and that are efficient, and that is that they have systems in place. It's a different type of system approach than what Andrew mentioned, but when we talk about systems, it's about having the things that you do regularly in your business documented. So it's about having documents, so policies, procedures, those sorts of things that often sound a bit dry or can be very overwhelming, particularly for sole traders who'd be like, well, it's just me, why do I need to document everything? It's really important to document what you do in your business. It doesn't have to be complex. It can be anything through from literally a Word document, written format, through to videos, training, things like that. So you can make it fun and interesting. But as you grow your business, you're going to be really grateful that you have those things documented. It will incredibly help your efficiencies when you bring staff on board. It also makes your business more valuable, which is something Sonja, I'm sure, from an accounting perspective will support. So I really encourage you to make sure that you have things documented. And if you're not sure how to do that or where to start, then seek support. So whether it's consultants, advisors, coaches, seek support from someone who does know how to do that and can guide you with where to start, so where to prioritise and what to do. And remember just to take one step at a time. You don't need to go from having nothing or very little documented to it all finished in a month. You can just be a progressive thing that you do over time. All right. So 5 hot tips.
Now we can come back to that. Like, unless you want to.
No, I'm fine. Happy to come back. Thank you.
Excellent. Sonja. Sonja is traditionally a bookkeeper, but moved into an accounting practice, and husband and self run the business. So I'll let Sonja introduce herself. Welcome, Sonja.
Good morning. Thank you, Sita. I'm Sonja Pilkington, and our accounting practice is called Asset Financial Accounting. So we provide accounting and bookkeeping services to small and medium enterprises, as well as some larger not-for-profit organisations. My take on this case study is that, yes, I think that sometimes small and medium enterprises don't always do their books really well, and they think, it's one of those things, I'll just leave it for later. It's not important. It is actually really important. Or they only procrastinate, as many of us do. They don't really want to do it, and they leave it until the end of the quarter when they have to do their GST returns. By then, it's 3 months later. First of all, they might not remember all the expenses, or they just go, I really don't want to do this, and they just put it off again. and becomes stressful for them. So my advice is that do regular bookkeeping and accounting. And if you don't want to do it yourself, get somebody to do it for you. And I would suggest doing it at least weekly. Weekly, maybe at most monthly, or at least should I say monthly. Work smarter, not harder, is another top tip I would have, and to say embrace technology. Don't necessarily do your accounting on spreadsheets, unless, of course, that is the only way that you think you can do it. Then make sure that you have some good formulas in there that would highlight you if you're making mistakes. I recently saw a client that sent me his spreadsheet and went, "Do you think this is great?" It was really bad. And for that person, I'll go, "You know what, here's something else you could use," and do that. If you're not doing your bookkeeping and accounting on a regular basis, you will not know if somebody owes you money, or you might forget that they owe you money, which is worse. So for a small and medium enterprise, cash flow is the thing that you have to look at most. And if you're not invoicing on a regular basis, you're not going to get the money through the. You're not going to get the money. You won't be able to take that next step. You are behind the 8th ball already, and Shannon will also tell you that it's bad planning. In terms of embracing technology, use what is the best for your business at that time. It doesn't have to be the latest and greatest, but it also doesn't have to be something that you borrowed from a friend that is 10 years old. It's not up with technology, it's not there with the latest legislation, so it might not work for you. Make sure that you also give your staff the right tools and equipment so they can do the best task possible for you. Teach your staff to help with the business and not be involved with busyness. And there's a distinct difference between busyness and business. Sometimes staff can get involved and just think, "Oh, I have to be busy, otherwise I'm not valuable." They are valuable working on your business and not just being busy.
So from a staff point of view, like from a person who's running the business, or the business owner, and they've got staff, but they've got bookkeeping staff or accounting staff, how would they sort of allocate that and sort of get away from busyness compared to the business side of things?
I would think. Good question. Yeah, very good question. Make sure that they are accountable. Give them tasks that also stretches and challenges them, so that but at the same time they need to be able to say, "Listen, over my head in here, I don't know what you want me to do."
Yeah.
Guide them in that.
Yeah.
And teach them often that they are valuable to you.
So is there some sort of KPIs that small businesses can sort of give an accounting staff to say, you know, how do we make sure that all the bookkeeping is up to date, sort of thing as well?
They can give them deadlines.
Yeah.
Most accountants like deadlines.
Yeah.
And so, well, if you're doing your monthly accounting, it needs to be finished by 5 days after month end.
Yeah.
Invoicing needs to be done every day. Be on top of your cash flow by making sure debtors are collected.
Yeah.
So you can have those kind of KPIs for your account staff. Something else that I forgot to mention was that when I said embracing technology, make sure that, or another way of doing it is scanning your most legal documents and keeping electronic copies of those.
Right.
Because that will help you.
Rather than just having a piece of paper, so yeah.
Yeah, because when you need to look at those contracts again, at least you can look at it electronically. It's far quicker to find that than trying to hunt through files
Yeah.
to find that piece of paper. That makes them work smarter as well.
Exactly. From Shannon, from a leadership perspective, how are small businesses really different to the corporates? Are there a couple of things, there's pointers that you sort of see? I know you mentioned that SMEs are sometimes better than the
Sometimes
corporates.
it depends on what it is. So,
are there sort of key differences that
aside from the obvious thing being the size,
Yeah.
it's often that small businesses, you have the business leader, so the person who started the business is quite often also still the person heading up the business. They are often wearing many hats when it comes to different roles. So they may be the marketing manager, the HR manager, the finance director. They're taking on all of those different roles. Not only are people generally not skilled to take on everything and to actually achieve in the areas that they need to with that, but they get very overwhelmed very, very quickly. And I think when you're trying to do everything at once yourself, it can definitely leave you sort of spinning rather than feeling like you're making taking steps forward, or sideways is okay sometimes, but you want to be progressively moving forward. So one of the things I find that reasons I find that people tend to try and do everything themselves is usually to do with cash flow. When we start up, we often don't have a lot of capital, irrelevant of our industry and what our business is about. So there's that perception that I have to do it all myself because I can't afford to pay anyone to do it. With that in mind, I think find or understand the things that you really do struggle to do and where you do need to hire an expert, and where you can find some cash or some capital to get the right people in place to help you from the beginning, so that you're not, like a lot of business owners that I've worked with over the years, 5-10 years down the track having to go back and reset foundations. And actually, when that happens, you will end up spending a lot more time and money, cause you a lot more pain, grief, and emotional, you cost it on an emotional level as well when you have to go back and do things.
You mentioned earlier about getting the video, so basic documentation. You talking about just recording it on an iPhone? Or
Could do.
Okay.
Yeah, keep it simple. Now, I like to talk about a strategy, I guess, or model that I like to call effortless success. And that's not about there being no effort and doing nothing, but it's about doing things an easier way. So if you've got technology and you can make the most of that, then adopt it. And if you don't know how to use it, again, ask someone. But something as simple as a smartphone and a video just to record what you're doing, or to use some of the screen capture software that's often inbuilt in our computers these days. Definitely keep it as simple as possible.
Or they could contact Robin from Olsen Media.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah.
Excellent.
I do, a lot of the time. It's not even about the focusing on the now. It's often about being stuck in what I have just done or haven't done. So there is often you're right, there's a lack of projection into the future. Often the future is too overwhelming for a lot of people. I'm definitely more of a visionary person. I'm a 5 to 10 year and beyond type person, but I find that that's quite rare. And one of the big things, and sort of more, I guess, focused on my true 5 hot tips, was around planning. And where I found that I get the greatest results with my clients is when we start with a plan. I would say that, it's that plan that makes all the difference. And so the 5 hot tips is to always to have a plan that does project into the future, but to keep it for the immediate plan 12 months down the track. Have the bigger vision as well, so have an idea in it, and you dare to dream about what you might like to achieve 5 or 10 years down the track, but for your working plan, about 12 months is about enough. And just to focus on 4 key areas, and I like to really help my clients to focus in on these 4 areas are business growth, wealth growth, expertise growth, and then self-growth. So again, something that with small business owners and even going up into the more medium enterprise market, we often overlook ourselves and what we need to keep going and keep functioning in our businesses, so that's why the self's in there. That's about setting the plan, setting goals on a monthly basis would be the second tip related to that plan. The third tip would be to review your progress, to track your progress and to celebrate. So that's the 4th tip, and Sonja and I were talking about this before. We only tend to wait till there's big things to celebrate. It's the little day-to-day things that actually end up creating those big wins that we can make down the track often. So celebrate. And the 5th tip that I have is to regularly take time off. So make sure in that plan you schedule time off, time out from your business, so that you can stay fresh and motivated and fulfill the other needs that you have that are not related to you being in your business, wearing far too many hats often. Now that, again, is a bit of a very broad question, but what I do is I can talk to you about the frequency in terms of my clients and why I go with that frequency. I certainly, as a coach, have my own coaches, have more than one. I definitely believe in my industry, and I find that it's so important to find specialist coaches to work with. I see them on a personal level, one of them monthly and one of them fortnightly, but that's based on the expertise that I want to work with them about. My own clients, they see me fortnightly. I tried the monthly thing with a lot of people, and it's just not close enough together, I guess is the best way to put it. I tend to find that when you coach with someone monthly, they'll leave the coaching session, or we'll get off the phone if it's a virtual session or Skype, all motivated, take action that first day or so, and then nothing happens until a day or two maybe before they're due to come back for the next coaching session. They're like, oh damn, I've got to, I'm seeing my coach, I've got to do some stuff because I want to prove here that I've actually taken some action, that this is worthwhile. I mean, you make a big investment, time and money and all sorts of things when you work with experts or coaches. So the weekly is too close. You haven't had time to go away, to absorb what you've learned, to reflect on that, to take action, and feel like you've got something to come back to and contribute. So that fortnightly time frame is a really nice sort of evenly sort of spaced time frame.
I do have a question for Andrew though. Andrew, where can people find the business excellence framework? The various different 9 points you mentioned? Yeah,
so easily, internet, Google, business excellence frameworks, and you'll see there are frameworks in 85 or more countries. In America, it's called Baldrige, and the president gives out the recognition awards, In Australia, it's called the Australian Business Excellence Framework. So I myself am a national evaluator for 15 years. So we get assigned to go and visit companies that seek to be assessed as to where they stand in their journey of business excellence.
They can download, look at themselves.
Yeah, so look up the business excellence frameworks, and each country has its own version of a framework, and they have a lot of commonality. They typically focus on these 7 categories. Some flesh them out to 10 to tailor and suit them to their national needs. But that's there in the public domain for you to go and have a look at. Otherwise, if you have difficulty, give me a ring or seek out expertise or help in that area. But what they do is they guide you as to the key dimensions that a business must focus in, and then those dimensions are broken down into categories, and within those categories are good practices or core practices that a business must implement. Now, it's not practical that a small business implements all of that. So you need to understand what is appropriate for your business, and these things are scalable. Set yourself a journey. So as your business grows, then you implement more of these practices. But today, even a small business has got a lot of complexity to deal with. There's rules, regulations, there's people to manage, there's customers, there's now the whole sort of area of social media, and so the complexity is quite sort of diverse. So you need the guidance of a system. Don't sit there and struggle.
Thank you, Andrew. Shannon, just one quick thing. You said about celebrating. How do people celebrate? I mean, I guess it all boils down to, like, for example, if I need to celebrate, I celebrate everything. I sort of celebrate it on Facebook.
Yeah, you are. See, Shannon's a wonderful role model for celebrating.
Just sort of celebrate, let everyone sort of gather in and sort of celebrate with us. But how do you sort of how would you suggest people celebrate?
I think it's the important thing is to come back to what motivates you. So if you ask the question, how would you celebrate? To think about, well, what would make me feel great? What would be something that I could. Sorry? Skydiving. Could be anything. And for some people it will be it might be a pay rise, it might be actually going and purchasing something, it might be an experience, it might be time out. So it's really important to work out what it is for you. And this is something to consider as well if you have a team. So if you have staff in your business, is to go back to what is actually important to them as well in terms of celebration. And certainly some things are going to, people, you might not be able to send all your team skydiving every month when they achieve their targets. It's not financially viable, but find out what works for them and, start small, but regular celebration and recognition is really important. For some people, when it comes to staff, it might be just a verbal acknowledgement of what they've, achieved. Others might like a little certificate. There's all sorts of things, but find out what people want, and for yourself, don't forget you either. Find out work out what's important for you and do it regularly, daily if necessary.
If I can comment on that, not everybody wants the same thing.
That's right.
So for one person, the skydiving thing might be
terrifying.
Might be exactly that. terrifying for the other person will be, oh, this is
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
The same with public recognition. Some people just go, oh, please don't tell me. Please don't recognise me in front of everybody, because they will just die of embarrassment. But yeah, making sure you know what makes your staff tick.
Yeah.
And we haven't heard from your top 5 tips yet, have we, Sonja?
No. My top 5 tips are, whatever you do it regularly and make sure you do it consistently. Have great record keeping, because ignorance of the law is no excuse. So for tax purposes, you have to have fantastic record keeping, not just average record keeping. Embrace technology. Use whatever you can to make your life easier. As Shannon said, work smarter, not harder, so you can actually have time to celebrate. And linking the two is scanning some of your documents and keeping it electronically as well as a physical document. Make sure you give your staff the right tools and equipment, because nothing frustrates them more than not having the right tools and equipment. So that would be my 4 tips.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for attending. Thank you, panel. Appreciate it. And we'll do more next month. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being a good audience.
Yeah.